Hope you can see this because I'm trying to hand hold it, but I was having a problem where my headlights were not popping up whenever I turned them on. So I got into investigating the vacuum system that makes it work, and what you have is vacuum coming off of the intake manifold, and it's split. One leg goes to the light switch, which then goes to the override switch, and then it comes in a black with a white stripe wire that goes all the way up to the front of the car to the controllers. It's really tough to get the headlight switch out, so I kind of started here. I figured that because I had neither one of them coming up, that it had to be something that was in common between the both headlights. So what I did is I took this out, and that's right on the dash at the bottom of the steering column, right underneath it. Took that out, and the first thing I did was I just felt for vacuum on the one leg of that connector to the override switch, and I did feel it, but I didn't measure it at that time, and I kind of quit for the day. So today I went out and I took that back off, and I measured the vacuum right here where it's coming out of the light switch, and I had about 18 inches of mercury, which should be plenty to operate the system, because all that is a signal. My next step was I went out and I checked this line. It's a white stripe that goes all the way up to a T that goes to both of the controllers. On some Corvettes, depending on the model year, there's only one controller that controls both. On mine there are two. So what I did was I disconnected it at this T here, and I checked the vacuum on that line. With the headlights off, it's supposed to have vacuum. With the headlights on, it cuts off the vacuum, and that's what causes the headlights to pop up. So I did have vacuum with the headlights off, which was good, and I turned the headlights on, and again, as it should, it fell to 0. So my next test was to go to this line right here, going to the vacuum tank, and I disconnected from the vacuum tank here, and I put my pressure gauge, my vacuum gauge, on that line, and I had like almost 20 inches of mercury there. So I knew I was getting vacuum to the tank. Once I found out I had vacuum to the tank, well, am I getting vacuum out of the tank? So I disconnected this line and checked it at the tank. No vacuum. Reconnected that line in case this was defective and leaking all the vacuum. I reconnected that line, took this one off, put the gauge on it. Again, 0 vacuum. So at that point I was like, either I've got a leak in that tank, or the input nipple there is clogged and it's not getting vacuum. So what I have done is, it turned out that I think it was clogged, and I got in there with a pick and I cleaned it out, and I reconnected that line, and I'm getting ready to go out in the garage and test it. So I'm going to show you where that little override switch is. It's right at the bottom of the steering column, and right there. try to hold this somewhat steady and point it out. When you pull it down, that causes vacuum to bleed off of the switch, so you're not sending any vacuum up to the relays, and that causes your windows to open. So I'm closing it, which is the normal position. And I'm going to open up the hood and show you where those connections are. Okay, I'm looking under the hood here. You can see the two modules that actually pull the doors open, and that round black cylinder there is the tank. And let's see if I can get a shot of where that hose right there is the yellow stripe that goes up to the controller. That's on the right side. I don't think I can get the left side. And over on the driver's side, I don't know if I can get a visual on it from here, but there's another nipple on this side that has a vacuum line connected to it, and I pulled that off to test the vacuum from the engine, make sure it was good. So I am going to actually start the engine now. I think I'll put the hood down first. Okay, I'm going to start the engine. You know what, I'm going to put this camera on a tripod before I do that. Okay, I've got the camera focused on the front of the car so you can see the headlights. Might take a while for vacuum to build up in that canister because it's pretty big, and it's empty because I had the hoses disconnected. Let it run for a couple seconds and I'm going to turn the headlights on. Like magic. It works. I can drive the car at night now. And they both came up quickly, evenly. I'd say that system's working pretty darn well now. The only thing I can suspect is that when I painted that tank, I got some of the rust proofing in the nipple, and it just wasn't able to get the vacuum through to the relays and to the, I don't know what they're called, but the modules that actually raise and lower the headlights. So that's another thing off of the list on this project. The only thing left, I think, is I gotta find why the gas gauge is not registering accurately. I suspect it's a poor ground because I painted the frame and everything, and I bolted the ground to the frame, so it's probably not getting a good ground. So I'll have to do that, but I'm going to do that another day.